Think that you understand the extent to which Trump is eroding the very fabric of democracy and
Maybe not.
becoming an
I'm not as
authoritarian.
clever as you.
It's not a question of cleverness. It's just a question of looking at what he is doing and saying this is an authoritarian figure. This completely changes the world order. America was supposed to be the leader of the free world, and we were supposed to be allied with them, and Europe was supposed to be allied with them. And that has been the case since the end of World War II. The US administration's behavior has fundamentally messed with the dynamic of that, and we need to do something in response. So what should we do?
Now, this call started off like countless others, a listener convinced that Donald Trump is simply putting America first. But within a matter of minutes, the conversation takes a dramatic turn. One statement changes the entire tone of the debate and forces the discussion away from campaign slogans and onto much bigger questions about leadership, democracy, and America's role in the world. The caller tries to defend his position, but can those arguments hold up when they're challenged point by point? Watch how this debate unfolds and decide for yourself.
When we left Europe after the referendum,
Yes.
Europe imposed on the UK a particularly tough, rigid deal that has stunted growth in the UK and, threatened our defences as well. I would rather be allied. Trump's 3.5 years left of his tenancy, and then he's gone.
Well, there's some dispute over that, isn't there? There are suggestions that he might refuse to move. We don't know what will happen, but certainly, my problem with people saying he definitely will call another election and it will be free and fair and everything will be fine is that everybody who said that the fears about Trump were exaggerated at the beginning of his second term have been proved wrong. He's been worse, if anything, than people feared. So we do have to consider that possibility, don't we?
Well, is he worse? I mean, I think we could learn a few lessons here from Trump. Not everything he's doing, obviously, is correct, but he is putting his country first, and he's doing the things. Why should he be propping up NATO with funds disproportionate to the other contributors?
Well, hang on. But we're talking about the silencing of journalists. We're talking about threatening of academic institutions, the closing down of the Department for Education, thousands of people losing their jobs through these swinging cuts, thousands of people millions of people losing their social security. How is that good for America?
Why should the government and taxpayers be paying for people who aren't doing a job? Why should the department? We're closing down the NHS thing here because there's a doubling of duties and we're wasting money.
Well, we're not closing down the Department of Education, though, are we? We want people to be educated to a high standard. And also welfare payments, so-called welfare payments, are shown to pay dividends in terms of the whole of society. Cutting them saves money in the short term and means that there are more expenses to the exchequer in the long term.
Possibly, but what we're doing here is trying to cut out people who are robbing the taxpayer in welfare payments, and Trump is doing the same thing. He's just not prepared to pay people who are freeloaders.
I don't think that you understand the extent to which Trump is eroding the very fabric of democracy and becoming an authoritarian.
I'm not as clever as you.
It's not a question of cleverness. It's just a question of looking at what he is doing and saying this is an authoritarian figure. This completely changes the world order. America was supposed to be the leader of the free world, and we were supposed to be allied with them, and Europe was supposed to be allied with them. And that has been the case since the end of World War II. The US administration's behavior has fundamentally messed with the dynamic of that, and we need to do something in response. So what should we do? We ally ourselves with the wannabe dictator?
I think I would rather hitch my wagon to America in the long term on the basis that Trump isn't going to be there after 3.5 years than with Europe, who we've been at war with effectively for 500 years in one form or another, and who put us to the sword when we left, even as recently as 2016. They've been
Yeah, well, I
unbelievably
take issue with your framing of that. They were very clear that there was only one type of Brexit deal that was feasible, and that would be disadvantageous to the UK. You can't just allow people to leave a union and to have more benefits or equal benefits than they had before they left it. That defeats the purpose of a union. They were very clear on that from day one. It's our politicians that lied to us and said that it wouldn't affect us in the way that it has.
Okay, I accept that. I accept that. Nonetheless, Germany, France, Spain, over 400 years, those alliances have shifted tremendously in all different directions. And as I say, I would feel more secure in England with America as my security blanket than Europe as my security blanket.
And what about even if we were able to obtain some favour from Donald Trump, what about the fact that he famously turns on a sixpence, listens most to the last person who was in his ear, changes his mind at the last minute? What about the instability that brings about?
I don't know, but I sense that on some of the this would be a massive issue to America. I don't believe that they would want to be bad friends, call it, with the United Kingdom, given the tie-up in security information, having a solid partner on the European front. I think it's a special relationship, and Trump, I think he loved it when Keir Starmer pulled out a letter from the King, didn't he?
But then went on to slap tariffs on our steel, so obviously didn't mean that much to him, did it?
Well, we're putting VAT on all of his products. We're putting tariffs on his products. So, again,
in retaliation. Yeah, things are changing so quickly. I hear what you're saying, Spencer, and thank you for your call and thank you for making your debut.
You know what? I actually found this debate more interesting than I expected. Not because it was full of shouting or people trying to score cheap points, but because the moment the host started asking for explanations instead of just accepting the claims, the whole conversation changed. And I think that's what good debates are supposed to do. It's easy to repeat something you've heard online. It's much harder to defend it when someone starts asking follow-up questions. Whether you agreed with the caller or thought the host made the stronger case, I'll leave that for you to decide. What I'm curious about is this. If you were the one on the other end of that phone call, how would you have answered those questions? Would you have defended the same points, or would you have taken a different approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I genuinely read them and some of the best discussions happen down there. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more debates like this, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.